What's up, Flick Connection? This is Darren, and today we're going to talk about all of the problems with Marvel's The Black Panther. Let's just get down to black tacks, shall we? Brass tacks. Fuck. Now, unlike I usually would in the Problems With series, I'm not going to talk too much about the problems with the movie itself. I'm going to talk more about the problems surrounding the movie, and then we'll get to a couple of the issues with the movie itself. But first, if you like this channel and you're new here, please click the subscribe button. I give you new movie recommendations every single week. I do a video like this every single week, and usually a third featuring something to do fun with movies. The goal of this channel is just to help you get more out of movies. So with that said, I want to talk about the tweet storm that surrounds this Black Panther movie. Now, if you haven't already heard, Now, if you have not already heard, there was a series of trolling tweets that went out surrounding the release of this movie that depicted specifically white people with beaten and bruised faces that said things like this. They essentially alleged that black moviegoers beat them up because they shouldn't have been there to watch this comic book movie. And what was quickly discovered was these were fakes. They were either pictures of semi-famous actors like this one from Supernatural, or people that had been in the news lately that have suffered beatings for completely different cases. And basically what we have here is either assholes trying to make it look like black people were beating up white people at the movie, or even bigger assholes trying to make it look like people were trying to make it look like black people were beating up white people at the movie. First try. Got that whole thing out first try. But these mean tweets were probably inspired by another mean tweet in which white people were told to stay home on February 16th because this movie is, quote, not for you. I do have news for whoever tweeted that. If white people did in fact stay home for the Black Panther release, its $200+ million opening weekend would have looked a little bit more like a $20 to $40 million opening weekend, which is a bust. And on $40 million, I am being super generous there, just because I'm trying to be careful with this video. Another problem I have with all of the buzz surrounding this movie is this is not the first movie to depict a black superhero. It's not the first good movie to depict a superhero. It's not even the first Marvel black superhero. Blade, there's 3 of them. They're not all good. Okay. The first one's pretty good. The second one's awesome, directed by Guillermo del Toro, who is nominated for multiple Academy Awards this year. Amazing director. Blade 2, if you haven't seen it, you gotta see it. It's a great movie. I don't remember a lot of people excited about that being a black superhero back in the day when that came out. Maybe because it's Wesley Snipes and he was already a major star. Blade 3, we can kind of forget that it even exists. Let's just move on from Blade 3. Meteor Man, not a joke. I loved Meteor Man as a kid. I'm just talking about it and researching it for this movie. I want to watch it again. Robert Townsend is freaking hilarious in the movie, and it's got a good lesson. He uses his powers to try to improve the city and his community, and it's a good, well-rounded movie. It's particularly good for younger kids. People have forgotten about Meteor Man. I can't remember the last time I heard a Meteor Man reference. Spawn. Spawn was black. Another comic book movie, a big one. A lot of people didn't like it, but still, he was black. This was in the 90s, early mid-90s. Hancock, Will Smith, superhero. In fact, every single Will Smith movie before 2010 is great and usually depicts him as the hero. I don't understand why this one is so particularly significant. This is just another Marvel movie. Point being, it's just kind of a mediocre, family-friendly action movie. There's a ton of them. There's a ton of Marvel movies. This is one of them. And it's not that good. I mean, it is good. It's maybe above middle of the pack as far as Marvel movies go, but man, is this movie getting some incredible praise. The Washington Post put out an article with this title, and I'm sorry, this movie is not the one. This movie is not that important. If you think this movie empowers the typical black Americans. It is about a fictional African city with people who have superhuman powers they get by consuming a drink, and all the main characters, all the ones with power, were born into royalty. It is the least relatable out of all the ones I mentioned, including Blade, maybe excluding Spawn. It might be more relatable than Spawn. Okay, it's definitely more relatable than Spawn, but it's not really got the cultural significance that everyone's claiming it has. The significance of it is the money that it made the opening weekend. That's what makes this movie as significant as people are making it out to be. That's not necessarily the focus of all the media attention, though. Most of that media attention is just sugar-coated garbage, and it's trying to make people feel like this movie should empower them. But the characters are fairly flat. They're one-dimensional characters because the studio wanted to play it safe, like they would with any Marvel movie. So they're fairly flat, which is typical in this type of movie. The first half drags because it's world building and it's establishing stuff. And with a 97% on Rotten Tomatoes, professionals are afraid to be honest about the movie. And that just means maybe giving it a mediocre review. Everyone's praising it, and they're telling people that it's empowering. White journalists are telling black Americans that this movie is empowering to them. They don't know what they're talking about. If you want a movie that's more empowering than this one, here's a quick list. I'm going to mention Blade one more time. Even though he's half vampire, most of his powers come from excessive training. War Machine from Iron Man, he's a decorated military man. Meteor Man, again, he fought to improve his community. He's a superhero. Nick Fury, another Marvel hero. There's quite a few black Marvel heroes, but Nick Fury is the leader of the Avengers. Roger Murtaugh from all 4 Lethal Weapons movies. Danny Glover again in Predator 2. He beat the Predator just like Arnold Schwarzenegger, one of the greatest action heroes of all time. And that was in the sequel follow-up to a hit movie. They decided to put a black man in the lead back in the early 90s, 25 years ago they did this, a quarter century. Apollo Creed, the original Apollo Creed. One of the greatest, most triumphant heroes in movie history is Rocky. He was beat by Apollo Creed at the end of the first movie. Spoiler alert. So these are all just off the top of my head. This is not new. This is not special. You're being tricked into thinking this is new and special. It is cool. It is different in terms of the Marvel Universe. It's not different in terms of the cinematic world as we know it. It's not new in terms of that, except for the money thing. On the money thing, movie like that making this much money, yes, I agree. But that's it. And that's noteworthy. It's newsworthy. But everything else you're hearing about it, unfortunately, I worry, is tricking a younger audience into thinking that this is new. That this is some sort of glass ceiling that needed to be broken. It's been broke for a while. And anyone around my age is probably scratching their heads as to why this is so particularly special. My goal with this is not to take away from the Black Panther, but it is to take away a little bit from this, what I consider to be false media coverage around this movie. Just let it be a decent movie that people can go enjoy. You don't have to politicize everything, and it pisses me off that this is where we are today, where people are pretending and making it seem like there's a greater racial divide in the country, and they're thereby creating a greater racial divide in the country. Let me know in the comments if you think I'm out of my mind or if you're on the same page as me. But thanks for watching. Likes are always appreciated, and you will see me next time.